Funding for this program was provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and viewers like you. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this special edition of Fronteras, a Changing America, Building a 21st Century Workforce. The Bridge of Southern New Mexico coordinated the series, and you'll find a lot more information at newmexicotruetalent.org. Today's focus, career and technical education, training high school students in many careers, including audio and video production. As Michael Hernandez reports, a graduate of Chaparral High School is making good use of her skills at New Mexico State University.
In a KRWG public media control room, New Mexico State University student Evelyn Sandoval jots down some final notes on her director's script as she prepares to cue her production staff for the night's broadcast. Sandoval, a journalism and mass communications senior, directs the student-run KRWG News 22 broadcasts in Milton Hall 3 nights a week. She got her start in television production as a freshman at Chaparral High School, where she entered the audio and visual production pathway in the school's Career and Technical Education, or CTE, program. Sandoval says once she learned about the AV program, she sought out teacher Stephen Gabaldon to tell him she was ready to commit.
He was setting up some cables or a stage, I think, at the time. I went up to him, I was like, "Hi, my name's Evelyn," shook his hand and smiled at him, and I was like, "I'm here, I want to learn, teach me everything you can. I heard you're in charge of the AV club, and, you know, I want to learn all these skills."
Hands-on skills, Sandoval says, you can't pick up from a book, like lighting a set or framing a shot.
Yes, we did quizzes, and we did all this paperwork and homework, and, you know, we learned from the book as well. But you can't compare that, you know, with hands-on experience. You know, we were actually, you know, rolling up cables, connecting cameras, working with Macs, you know, working with Adobe Premiere Pro, you know, editing, you know, photography, making packages, making stories, writing the newscast in the morning.
Mr. Gabaldon has been teaching in the AV program for nearly a dozen years, which features introductory, intermediate, and advanced classes. Gabaldon says he teaches his students how to produce broadcasts in standard and high definition because not every workplace has state-of-the-art equipment.
Everyone doesn't have the same stuff, so where do we go? How do we deal with that? So I try to take advantage of the tools that I do have so the students can jump back and forth between the analog and the digital world, and then when they go out and work for somebody else, they have a better chance of being able to deal with what they're given.
Gabaldon says he doesn't limit what students learn to the classroom, covering concerts, singing competitions, practically any live event that needs a sound system, cameras, or lights. He says those who take his course also learn the soft skills they need to navigate everyday life.
I put the students in real-world situations all the time, good or bad, because every path has a puddle. It doesn't matter what it is, and you have to deal with that when you're out at work. And it doesn't matter what job you have, you're going to have to deal with things that come up. And my personal belief is that we should be teaching two things. We should be teaching students how to think, and we should be teaching them how to solve problems, because that's how you get through the day.
2016-2017 data from the Gadsden Independent School District reports the graduation rate among students who participated in CTE programs was 97.5%, significantly higher than the district-wide rate of 80%. CTE students also scored 3% higher in reading proficiency and nearly 10% higher in math proficiency than non-CTE students. Gabaldon says he wants students who take his classes to embrace work and take pride in what they do, even if it's not media production.
They don't have to do production, and I tell them that from day one. Production isn't for everybody, but the things you learn, you can transfer to other stuff. Just like education, they'll come in and I'll tell them, guys and gals, college is not for everyone, but education is, and they're not the same thing. And you can transfer the skills and you can be successful.
Since attending college, Sandoval has not shied from work. Along with directing News 22, she produces NMSU sports broadcasts for Aggie Vision and presents the weather for the school's Spanish news broadcast Noticias 22. Sandoval says she always knew she had a passion to produce. She says the directing skills she gained in high school helped her understand what employers expect and allowed her to quickly move up the ranks after joining News 22.
I already knew how to make a show look clean, a live show, because there's a difference between pre-recordings and live shows. And, you know, to be able to have that practice of working a live show, you know, I advanced very quickly, and there was a lot of upperclassmen, and I just came in as a freshman, and they saw the experience that I had, and I was ready. I was just ready to be in the director's chair, you know what I mean? Because everything else was just little small skills that I had already learned at the high school level.
Giving high schoolers an early chance to gain the skills they need to thrive is helping Sandoval and other students produce highly at the next level. For KRWG Public Media, I'm Michael Hernandez.
Some examples there of building the workforce in our community. We continue our discussion now with Travis Dempsey. He is the Gadsden Independent School District Superintendent, and Dr. Monica Torres, Interim President of Doña Community College. Our panel was coordinated by the Bridge of Southern New Mexico. There's much more information for you online at newmexicotruetalent.org. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fred.
All right. To start off with, Travis, we saw some great examples there in that report of the power of CTE, Career Technical Education. It's really amazing. I know that the Gadsden District has a lot of diversity, and I want to talk about how career programs prepare students for success in education and then employment beyond high school.
Without a doubt, and I think our goal with Gadsden is to align programs that our students are truly college and career ready. And not all of our students want to do that 4-year or even longer type degree program, and CTE options have been fabulous for our kids. And in each of our clusters, we try to align different mechanisms so that our kids have those, can align those interests. And so, for example, Chaparral High School, we focus on a media arts type, and we have the staffing to be able to accomplish that.
Yeah.
At Gadsden and Santa Teresa, we do something a little bit different too.
Do you think there is enough understanding amongst the general public of how important these programs are and how vital they are as a choice for many students?
Unfortunately, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think that's one of our struggles. But our alignment and our work with our Bridge helps us to align to those workforce needs. And that's probably where K-12 education, higher ed, and our workforce needs we need to continue to align those efforts, because many times they may be out of alignment.
Okay. Monica, give us a sense of the community college role in this, seeing talented students like we saw in that report move on from high school and then succeed as they continue their education in community college.
Well, the original mission of DACC was to prepare students for the workforce. That's a 45-year mission, and it's DACC's abiding mission. So one of the things that we're interested, Fred, is how do we provide students and employees for the workforce that is in our surrounding community. So we have very strong relationships with communities. We have advisory board members. We are in constant conversation with the public schools. And our job is to ensure that when our students graduate, they're able to move into the workforce and be successful employees and effective citizens.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Travis, we saw audio and video production there, but I know there's a lot more to CTE. Give us a sense of the types of programs.
Well, Chaparral High School focuses on that area. We also, Santa Teresa High School, we have quite a bit, high schools that, we're working with high schools that work, and that aligns with some of our computer science type programs, and we're doing some extra work with coding there because that's a need in that community, that's an interest there. Mm-hmm. Gadsden High School are a little bit more traditional at Gadsden High School, where you're going to see ag and auto mechanic type programs, and we have some fabulous partnerships where we've had students go through our system and then transition over to work directly in the workforce and make those transitions, and it's been just a fabulous partnership.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that, and you in particular mentioned auto mechanics.
Yes, sir.
Many folks don't realize that there's a growing shortage of folks in that field. It can be very high paying, and for folks who gain additional certification and training post-secondary, they can have jobs before they even graduate. It's truly an incredible opportunity, and I imagine as electric cars, hybrid vehicles take off, there's going to be an even greater need, because we're going to see that in the future.
I think one of the things we're trying to align all of our schools is to use the idea of technology and how that looks in the industry to prepare, because students have it, that's a hook for students.
Yeah.
And that's what we use for that hook to get them then to make a decision on where they want to be.
Yeah.
But it's a wide range
Yeah.
of options there for kids.
Monica, I focus in particular on that auto mechanics because I can relate to it. So I will tell you, one of the most memorable segments that I have ever done in my 30 years in broadcasting was an interview many years ago in Michigan before I moved here with a young man who had gone on to a 4-year degree because everyone told him you must go get a bachelor's degree. He had no particular focus at the time when he graduated from high school. So he said, oh, maybe I'll just take marketing. And he got a marketing degree. He was successful. He graduated. But he didn't get a good paying job in marketing, and he wasn't really enjoying it. But he always liked cars. No one encouraged him in that. No one said, why don't you continue on in community college and get a degree and continue into auto mechanics if that's what you really like. So guess what? You know, after getting a 4-year degree in marketing, he went back to community college and he studied auto mechanics, and he had a job before even graduating.
Right.
And a very good paying job, by the way. Give us a sense of this and the message that has to go out that I'm sure you try to share working for the community college of this importance, that it's not just sharing that these programs are available, but changing our culture and our attitude about different professions.
Well, I want to agree with Travis that I don't think people in the community generally understand that there are all these options available to them. I think a lot of times when people think about college, they think about the baccalaureate degree. But prior to the baccalaureate degree, there are numerous options. Sometimes we call some of them, people hear about welding, people know about auto, people know about a lot of the programs that we have at DACC. But there's other programs that we have that people don't necessarily know about. I think about respiratory therapy. I think about health information technology. They don't know coming into the institution. So one of the things we do at DACC and that we want to do at DACC is to make sure that students and community members understand the full range of programs we offer. That includes programs in what we call commercial technologies like HVAC and welding and water technology. It includes health programs like respiratory therapy, radiologic technology, sonography. It includes just an immense range, creative media technology, which was featured earlier. And so one of the things that we want people to do, we want students to understand is you have a range of options. And we want our community to understand, and people in the public schools, counselors and teachers, to understand that there are things we see in popular culture all the time, but there's a range of career options for students. And so we've gone out of our way in the last number of years to get people on our campus to look at the programs, to come into our laboratories and to see those options that aren't necessarily readily visible in the culture at large.
Okay, Travis, Monica mentioned this, and I know you have as well, that you talk to each other, you talk to the community college system. Tell me about communication also with workplaces and the kind of exposure that students can get to workplaces and how this may motivate them as well.
I would have to credit Tracy Bryan with the Bridge, who's helped mold that group so that we connect to those industry. And that makes a huge difference to sit down with those industry leaders and hear exactly their needs. And it came up at times is we also have to be sure we're teaching those soft skills so that our students are prepared to jump into those jobs. The education side of the world and the academic side of it is so critical. But if they don't have those soft skills, we're not going to find that success.
Sure, and we should say for the audience at home, when we talk about soft skills, this is a really wide range. Everything from coming to work on time, treating other people with respect, you know, and it goes on. And these are really important things that hopefully you're learning in high school.
Correct. Yeah. And we're trying to emphasize those. This partnership, though, in Doña County is amazing to be able to sit across the table from those industry leaders and hear what they're seeing, and then us to consider how do we look at our system and how do we adjust our system so that we're producing those individuals so that they can immediately be successful. I think there's the one thing that probably K-12 education has struggled with is, did we produce the skill set so they can quickly be employable? Okay. And I think that may be where we've missed some places and where we want to work.
Yeah. Monica, let me get a sense from you. You've mentioned a number of different programs available at the community college, many of which may tie in even directly to CTE and high school. Are there any gaps that you see, anything that you would like to see more of in this community for the community college system?
You know, let me talk a little bit of a gap that I think we're trying to rectify at this point, the public schools and the community college. One of the gaps is when dual credit emerged as an option for high school students. So high school students taking college classes while they're high school students. I think the initial thought was, let's expose students, let them explore a variety of options. What we discovered is that students were exploring a lot of options and not necessarily getting on a meaningful path. And so part of the work we have done in the last few years with the public schools, and that the public education department and the higher education department have encouraged, is developing these sort of pathways or programs of study between the high schools and the college, so that we're actually capitalizing on each of our strengths. And so one of the things I think, and I know this is slightly a different answer to the question, is one of the things I think the community needs is to continue, and clearly as Travis mentioned, the bridge has been central to this, is to continue to develop partnerships so that we're capitalizing on what we have efficiently rather than moving in a variety of different directions.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned dual credit, and when people hear that, not everyone may be familiar with that particular idea, but probably most people watching have heard of the early college high school. Correct. And this is it's an amazing thing to have in a community. And I know this idea is growing around the country to allow students that opportunity to graduate from high school with an associate's degree. So while they're getting their diploma, they also get an associate's degree in high school. How important do you think that is, and how vital do you think that is to have in a community, that opportunity?
I think it's important for a variety of reasons. Yeah. I think on the one hand, and I think one of the original thoughts behind dual credit and specifically the early college high school, is there are students in high school who don't yet understand that they're college material. And so one of the benefits is that it provides a college experience while they're in high school, and when they pass the class, they think, I can do this. Yeah. And it opens a door to them early in their lifetimes that maybe would not have been opened otherwise. I think that's one of the benefits. Of course, students are able to take those classes tuition free, and so there is an economic benefit to their families. Sure. Right? And in addition to that, there's an additional economic benefit in that it saves them time on the back end. So perhaps instead of taking 4 years to get through college, after post-high school graduation, they shorten that time and are able to get into the workforce earlier. Yeah. So there's lots of benefits to the community, both kind of at the individual level, but also at the institutional level, and then in the broader community as well.
I think it's great. So Travis, as the district looks to expand its career focus and connections as well, what efforts do you want to highlight that are underway to help students get ready for careers after high school?
I think there'd be two things I'd talk about. One, I'm super excited about working with Dr. Torres and her team at DACC to right now our students can achieve an Associate's of Fine Arts, but with some additional work, we're going to be able to offer an opportunity to get an Associate's of Science. And that, I think, is going to open up those STEM opportunities, which many of our kids are interested in. I think that might even increase the number of our students who are wanting to enroll at Alta Vista, which is our early college high school. So we're super excited about that. Keep in mind that they have those campuses in our district and within just a few miles of where we're at. And so that is terrific. And I think, you know, the early college high school at some level, especially for our students, it is so key, and we are working on this, to ensure that our students feel comfortable on those campuses. So there's not the transition from high school to college is just completely seamless. They're just already there. It's already home. And to ensure that they're comfortable, I think, is really important to them continuing on that campus, right?
Yeah.
And continue with that work. And then another program I am super excited about, and it's a project called our Blended Senior Year. And we're piloting this at Santa Teresa High School. And the idea that one of the struggles is that we've kind of sprinkled dual credit throughout high school and kind of toyed with where we put that. This idea, and the struggle with that is you might have sophomores, you might have juniors, and maybe that works and maybe it doesn't. What we're trying to do is get our students, a cohort of students, completed with their high school requirements by the end of their junior year, which will be in May. And then the next school year, they would then attend a DACC campus, and the doors open to whatever pathway they would choose. And so trying to open that door as wide as we can so that they're self-selecting where they go. And part of the philosophy is those are students that, in order to enroll in Alta Vista Early College High School, you make that decision in 8th grade. Well, these are students in populations that weren't quite mature enough to probably make that decision, but it's the oldest I'm ever going to have them. They're in their senior year, and they may now be really ready to take that step. And what a great way to get on a path to spend that senior year truly as a freshman in college.
Yeah.
And I am super excited about it. And I'm going to add pieces here that I think are real important for people to know, is that the funding mechanism, that's where we've got to really get behind dual credit in terms of a state and funding it, because higher ed really gets bare bone, almost nothing to compensate them for accepting those students. The public school, we're responsible for the textbooks, and that funds about 1/3. And so we really have to find a better way to fund these mechanisms, or we're going to hurt each other.
Yeah.
And I truly believe we need to get serious about it. And industry's there; they're waiting for us to do this.
Yeah. Monica, you want to address that, because I know that I've heard that as an issue before.
Yes.
That we need the legislative support to ensure that these programs are funded. You gave a number of other examples of why this idea of dual credit is so important and so beneficial for students. And we have real data on this. I mean, Arrowhead is an example that almost all of those students graduate from high school.
Right,
Yeah.
right. In all of our data, there's the early college high school students. They all graduate from high school. They all do well in college. In addition to that, students who take just a few dual credit classes, they also do better in high school and in college. And so it's a good thing to do. It's expensive. It's not inexpensive to do this. It's a commitment, an investment by higher education and public education. Several years ago, Fred, few people were talking about the funding dilemma, and it is a funding dilemma, because higher education is paying the lion's share of the cost for the students. In the last couple of years, as a result of advocacy work done in higher education and public education, the legislature has started to talk about it. And the bridge in the last year or so, year and a half or so, the bridge has taken a lead role in helping us have that conversation with the legislature.
Okay, so not just a state issue, though. I wanted to ask you this, Monica. What is the state doing to build more robust CTE programs in light of the reauthorization of the Carl Perkins legislation and the increased federal investment in these programs?
One of the things that's really important to know about career technical education is that they are funding intensive. If you're going to prepare somebody for the workforce of today and the workforce of tomorrow, for example, you have to have up-to-date equipment. You have to have cutting-edge equipment so that people are going into the workforce fully prepared to deal with the technology that's available. One of the things that higher education uses Perkins funding for is to ensure that they have the most up-to-date equipment possible. And so without Perkins, it would be a more difficult landscape for us. And so one of the things I think about in terms of the public schools, because the public schools also receive Perkins funding, and that's equipment and technology is one of the ways that we use Perkins funding. It's essential. it's essential to make sure that we have a workforce that's fully prepared to do the job that needs to be done.
Yeah, and you know, another thing that we haven't even mentioned, Travis, that I think is so important to talk about with this is that so many of these jobs that your district and other districts are working on to ensure that we have that workforce pipeline, so many of these jobs cannot be outsourced, right? I mean, you need to take your car in to get fixed here. You're not going, someone in China is not going to be fixing your car.
Correct.
You need healthcare services here, et cetera, et cetera. Are there other things besides programs like this that you think would be useful to try to help the general public and all of our legislators, the local, the state, the federal level, understand the importance of this?
I think one thing that could help is increased opportunities for students to do simple internship. Finding ways for high school students to get into that workforce and get some experience there. Mm-hmm. And I think that's another way to hook them and get them excited about something. And we can go through many examples of students who somewhere got hooked in, however, it's not systematic. And we need to find that way to make it systematic so that we can continue that pathway.
Well, thank you for the work that both of you do for our community. I appreciate you sharing information about both of your institutions and the importance of this work.
Thank you, Fred.
Thank you at home as well for joining us for this Fronteras special, Building a 21st Century Workforce. That is our program, but there is a lot more information for you online. Check out the Bridge of Southern New Mexico at newmexicotruetalent.org. Have a great week.
Funding for this program was provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and viewers like you. Thank you.